Welcome back. Today's episode is probably going to ruffle some feathers. We're going to talk about diets to leave in 2023 and the only diet that I think you'll really need going into 2024 in order to achieve your weight loss goals. But quickly, before I dive into this episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner if you want to stay up to date on all things training, nutrition, and overall living a healthy lifestyle. My opinion, and I am a registered dietitian, let me clarify. So I do have the background and training in recommending certain diets to people. But I will say, I do think you have to find in general what works for you. Now, usually what does not work for people that I've worked with hundreds of clients at this point is extreme diets. So some of my least favorite diets I see that people come to me following, these are the diets I'm going to be sharing, and these are the ones I think you should just throw out the window unless you see yourself doing them 5, 10, 20, 40 years down the road. If you don't see yourself doing them, then that diet is not for you. I'm also going to share why these diets work because I know I'm going to probably get some comments that someone says, oh, well, I followed the so-and-so diet and I lost 20 pounds. Yes, these diets all work, but do I think they are the most healthy way to lose weight? And are they the most nutrient-dense type of diet? No. So we're going to get into why these diets work as well as why they're really not recommended for the long run. One of my least favorite diets is any type of juice, master cleanse, liquid-only diets. Our bodies are not meant to just consume liquid calories. First, if you have to be on a liquid diet for like a diet from a doctor's prescription, that's obviously an exception. But if you're drinking green juice 3 times a day because you don't want to eat because you're scared you're going to gain weight, unless you see yourself drinking that green juice 20 years from now, just throw that idea out the window. You're going to lose 10 pounds of water weight right in the beginning. And the second you go back to eating regular, you're going to gain all that weight right back. Typically, the reason people lose weight on a juice cleanse, one, you don't have much water going into your gut. Carbohydrates will pull water into your gut. 1 gram of carbohydrates is going to pull about 4 grams of water. So if you have a high carb meal, it's pretty common that your weight is going to go up the next day because you're retaining water. You cannot gain fat overnight. So just to clarify, that weight you lose during a cleanse diet is typically water weight. And then you put it right back on, and that's typically water weight. You're not really losing any muscle. You're not really losing any fat, especially since it's typically like a week-long diet at the most. I really don't see people keeping this one up for a week, maybe a month. Now, if you were to do this diet long run, like I'm talking 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, the reason you might probably lose a little bit more than just water weight would be because you're eating in a calorie deficit. Those shakes you're drinking are going to be a lot less calories than what you're burning throughout the day, and therefore you might get some weight loss, but unfortunately it's not going to be the type of weight loss you are probably looking for. It's going to be loss of muscle in addition to just fat. So you're not going to just lose fat, you're going to lose a lot of muscle because you're not eating adequately to maintain your muscle mass, and it's not going to give you the physique you're probably looking for. The next diet I really just don't recommend, and I think it's because people do this one wrong. Honestly, I don't know how you could do this one right. That's just my opinion, is the carnivore diet. The idea that you should only be eating meat, no fruits, no vegetables, no whole grains, just meat. When I see people, and the people I've known who've done this, literally go to like McDonald's and get their burgers, get no buns, and they're just eating highly processed meat. I don't recommend that. I don't recommend any diet that's super extreme, but I'm going to get into that in a minute. Now, the reason I don't love this diet is it's super extreme, and I'm not a fan of really any extreme diet. When you can only eat one food group, and typically most diets eliminate one food group, this one only includes one food group. And don't get me wrong, I love protein, and it's super important to have enough protein when you're building muscle and recovering and repair, but to only eat protein day in and day out from animal-based sources, I wouldn't say is the healthiest option. Fruits and vegetables provide us with a lot of vitamins and minerals that animal protein sources cannot provide us with. Therefore, our diet is going to be lacking in certain nutrients. So if you are following the carnivore diet, probably get your lab values checked to make sure you're not deficient in other super critical vitamins and nutrients. Now, the reason that the carnivore diet works is because by eliminating all other food groups, only consuming meat, you're going to drop calories. A common theme you're going to see here is all of these diets result in a calorie deficit. Now, to go back really quick, what is a calorie deficit? This is when you eat less calories than you burn and you lose weight. That is what a calorie deficit is. And you will see that each of these extreme diets result you being in a calorie deficit, and that is why you lose weight. I'm going to share with you the optimal way to do it, but the second diet on my list is the carnivore. Not my favorite. I think it can be done more healthy than most people do it if you're eating lean meat sources and getting maybe like locally farmed meat, making sure you're checking for nutrient deficiencies. But I can tell you most of the people doing this diet are not doing that. And again, they're probably sticking with it for maybe a month, maybe 6 months, maybe a year. But if you don't see yourself doing this 10 years down the road, then really I would throw this one out the window. The next diet that honestly I might dislike this one a lot because again, people don't do it correctly is the keto diet. Keto diet was designed for children with epilepsy, for those of you who don't know, but they have shown some studies where it resulted in weight loss. Therefore, the weight loss community, jumped on that, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry and targeted towards women who want to lose weight. There you go, keto. Everything is labeled keto this day and age. So for those of you who don't know, a keto diet is high in fat, low in carbohydrates, typically a real keto diet. So like, again, as a dietitian, if I was prescribing this diet to someone who had epilepsy to control their seizures, I would give them a very high fat diet and a very low carb, but also a very low protein. I don't think people understand that. They do high protein, high fat, and low carb. It's not exactly a keto diet. What you're doing when you follow the keto diet, again, you're eliminating calories because you're eliminating carbs. The initial drop in weight is going to be from that water that pulls in with carbohydrates. As I've mentioned before, remember, carbs pull water in. So if you have a big 5-10 pound drop in the first few weeks, probably just that water weight. If you can stay with it long run, then yeah, you might be actually losing some weight and hopefully mostly fat, depending on what you're doing to lose the weight. But again, this one works because you're in a calorie deficit. Carbohydrates have a very important role in our body. And I don't recommend completely eliminating them, especially if you're a strength athlete and you want to optimize performance. Like, you need carbohydrates to fuel your workouts. If you're an endurance athlete, again, carbohydrates are great for long distance runners, for short sprints. We like to use carbohydrates as our primary fuel source. So depriving our bodies from our primary fuel source, especially for performance, in my opinion, is not optimal. Again, people do have success on this diet. Do I think they can do it for the long run? Usually not. I almost never see someone follow this for the long run. They do it for a short time. They don't actually educate themselves on what causes them to gain weight. And when they go back to eating carbohydrates, they don't do any portion control, and then they end up just gaining the weight right back. So again, another extreme diet, eliminating a whole group of food. Now, a reason I really think carbohydrates are also important is specifically our whole grains. So think about your fiber intake. Fiber helps with good digestion. It can help lower cholesterol levels. It helps with overall good gut health. So if we're eliminating that from our diet, our gut health can kind of go to crap, especially if you're eating high fat processed food. So you have to do it in a more healthful way. I've seen people do it by eating just like steak and bacon and cheese and all these really high fatty processed foods. Again, not the best way to do it. Now I'm going to umbrella a bunch of diets because these in general, I don't think they work. And the reason I say I don't think they work is because I see them not working for my clients. And I'll share with you what I do find working. But any type of extreme restrictive diet, one that eliminates carbs, one that eliminates fat, one that eliminates eating out ever, one that teaches you extreme restriction and no balance. Nobody can live their entire life following an extremely restrictive diet. That type of diet can breed disordered eating and eventually can cause an eating disorder. So you really don't want to be super, super restrictive with your food either. And to top it all off, it's going to develop a very unhealthy relationship mentally with food. Food is fuel. It fuels us for our performance. It fuels us for our everyday lives. It makes us feel great. It allows us to connect with others. It allows us to appreciate our culture. We should not be restricting food to the point that we're hating what we're eating and we feel like it's a chore, because that's not really what a diet should be about. And I really don't even like the term diet. It's about balanced eating. And that's what I'm going to talk about. So in my opinion, if you want to achieve any physique goal, whether it's building muscle, whether it's weight loss, which is typically fat loss, or if it's to maintain the way you look, or if it's performance-based, you need a nice balanced diet. And what does that mean? So you should have adequate protein for your daily recommended intake. You should have plenty of fruits and vegetables, at least 1 to 2 fruit pieces per day, and maybe 3 to 5 servings of vegetables per day. Most people are not getting that. You should really try to do whole grains. You should be hitting your fiber intake. It should be a little bit of everything. And fats, you need healthy fats. Typically, plant sources are best. So like olive oil, nuts, seeds, avocado, these all contain really healthy fats. I find with my clients, they feel the best, they look the best, and they perform the best when they are eating a balanced diet. They don't feel like they're super restricted, so they can go out with family and friends, and this allows them to stay on top of their health and fitness goals. What matters is the dosage and the portion size. You can eat anything and gain weight. You can eat nothing and lose weight. And what it comes down to is you're eating the proper portion sizes. For example, you can eat rice. Rice will not make you gain weight. Pasta will not make you gain weight. But are you eating the proper portion size? For example, I'll have a client who's eating a full cup of rice cooked, and they're a pretty petite sized person. I tell them, hey, drop that to about a half a cup. They're still going to eat the food they love. They're just going to have it in a proper portion size, and it's not going to result in gaining unwanted weight. Kind of summarize this up, I recommend you choosing a diet that works best for you. And if some of the ones that I said before that are more extreme work well for you, that's great. I'm glad they are working for you. I am not going to be that person that knocks you for trying something different and it ends up working for you. Stick with it. But if you're someone who's following one of those diets and you're like, you know what, you're right, I'm not going to do this a year, 2 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road. I need to find an alternative. I recommend you educate yourself on what's in your food. Focus mostly on eating whole foods, less processed food. Try to minimize the amount you're eating out. Try to see where hidden calories might be found. Are you getting sugary drinks from Starbucks? Are you adding a ton of olive oil to your cooking? Do you use butter with every meal? Those things are what are contributing to your weight gain, maybe drinking too much soda. It's not that you have to eliminate carbs. You have to cut out fat. You have to follow this extreme diet in order to achieve weight loss, but instead educating yourself, what is in the food I'm eating? What's a proper portion size for my body, for my goals, and what's still going to optimize performance when I'm going into the gym. If you have any questions about the current diet you're following, drop it in the comment section below. I'm more than happy to answer questions about dieting. I know from experience, I've followed all the diets that I've mentioned, and that's why I know they don't work from my own experience. I've tried the keto, I've tried the juice cleanses, I've tried the extreme fasting, and none of that really worked for me, and all I felt like was very fatigued, defeated, and dissatisfied with how I looked and how I felt. So comment some questions you guys might have about the diet you're following. If you're following a diet that's working for you, then you know what? Keep going for it. I hope that whatever you're following is the right plan for you. If you guys want to see more content related to training, nutrition, and overall living a healthy lifestyle, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And thanks again for watching.